This article is the third and final part of my Marxism is Wrong series. In part 1, I proved Leninism and Frankfurt School approaches to Marxism are wrong. In part 2, I debunked the labor theory of value, the central tenet of Marxist economics. In this article, I will explain why Marxist historical methodology does not apply to capitalist society. Marxist theory argues contradictions in the economic base between the means of production and relations of production generate new relations of production and thereby a new mode of production. Marxists believe the ultimate cause of historical change is changes in a mode of production, historical materialism. Marxism is an attempt at scientific socialism. Scientific socialism attempts to use theory to explain past historical changes and to predict future changes. Marxism aims to use scientific socialism's explanations and predictions to transform society from a capitalist mode of production to a socialist mode of production. According to Marxist theory, dialectical materialism is the methodology for scientific socialism. In Friedrich Engels' 1880 book, Socialism, Utopian and Scientific, Engels states, "To thoroughly comprehend the historical conditions and thus the very nature of this act is the task of the theoretical expression of the proletarian movement, scientific socialism." The term dialectical materialism is comprised of two components, 1. Dialectical, and 2. Materialism. Dialectical materialism is dialectical because it looks at opposing forces to explain historical change. Marx refers to the opposition of forces as contradictions. Dialectical materialism is materialist because it seeks to explain historical change through contradictions in the material conditions of a society. Marx's base superstructure model, outlined in Marx's 1859 book, A Contribution to the Critique of Political Economy, aims to explain how contradictions in capitalist society will lead to socialism. The economic base consists of the means of production and the relations of production. The means of production is anything used to create capital goods or consumer products. For example, tools, machines, factories, land, and raw materials. The relations of production are the laws and social norms governing the means of production. For example, laws that protect private property are categorized as a relation of production. Marxist theory argues contradictions in the capitalist mode of production between the means of production and the relations of production will generate a socialist economy. Here's an outline of Marx's argument for contradictions in capitalism. The value of a good or service is tied to the socially necessary amount of labor required to produce it. This is called the labor theory of value. The rate of profit is the ratio of profit to the amount of invested capital. Technological innovation enables more efficient means of production. More efficient means of production requires less labor. Less labor means the ratio of labor to capital will decrease. The ratio of the value of physical output to the value of production capital invested will decrease. The rate of profit will decline. Capitalism incentivizes technological innovation to make the means of production more efficient. Capitalism is a profit system. From statements 7, 8, and 9, capitalism contradicts itself. Statement 1 endorses an incorrect and obscure economic theory called the labor theory of value, or LTV. According to the LTV, a commodity's value, something that is bought and sold for a price, is determined by the socially necessary labor time required to produce it. Marx defines socially necessary labor time as the average amount of time workers take to produce a commodity. For example, if on average it takes workers 1 hour to build commodity X, then commodity X requires 1 hour of socially necessary labor. The LTV is the central tenet of Marxist economics. If the LTV is false, statement 1 is false. If statement 1 is false, Marx's argument against capitalism is unsound. Here are 3 arguments against the LTV. 1. Let's say a doctor works for an hour and a cashier works for an hour. According to the LTV, the doctor who works for an hour and the cashier who works for an hour deserve the same compensation. No economy could function on the basis of the LTV. To become a doctor requires significantly more training, effort, and resources than to become a cashier. 2. We can also disprove the LTV by looking at the prices of commodities like artworks. According to the LTV, the price of a commodity depends on the amount of labor workers put into it. Consider an artwork like Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night. We know it took Van Gogh 10 years of hard work to paint Starry Night. Since the day Van Gogh finished Starry Night, its price has increased while the amount of labor time remains the same. This disproves the LTV. 3. A society where resources are allocated based on the LTV is not sustainable. People will not have enough incentive to perform highly specialized tasks and would refuse to work for the compensation offered by the LTV. The LTV is obviously false. Since the LTV is obviously false, Marxism's argument against capitalism is unsound. Dialectical materialism does not apply to capitalist society because there are no contradictions in the capitalist system as Marx thought.